Perhaps the greatest lesson is that happiness is not just a destination, but a process. Happiness is a continuous process involving new challenges, and it requires the right attitude and activities to maintain. Ed Diener. We often live with a beautiful illusion that once we reach somewhere, having more money, being loved more, being more successful, being more perfect, then happiness will stay forever. But life has never worked that way. Happiness is not a chair for us to sit down and rest in eternally. It is like keeping a fire burning in the night, protecting it from being extinguished by the winds of life. Humans often suffer not because they lack happiness, but because they want to freeze it. They want to hold on to a single emotion, a single moment, a single version of life forever. But everything in this world is in motion. A garden, if not tended to every day, will be overrun with weeds. The human soul is the same. Happiness does not naturally exist just because we smiled yesterday. It must be nourished by our thoughts, by gratitude, by the ability to stand up after disappointment, and by the courage to continue loving even after being hurt. A person who has never walked through loss will find it hard to understand the value of peace. Just as the sky only becomes radiant after the rain, the human inner self often matures after colliding with life. True happiness is not a life without pain. It is the ability to keep one's soul from being swallowed by darkness despite passing through pain. Instead of asking, "When will I be happy?" ask, "How have I lived today to create happiness?" That question changes an entire life. For ultimately, happiness does not lie in some glorious tomorrow, but in the way we walk through each day. With an alert heart, an adaptable spirit, and a soul soft enough to feel beauty even in the imperfect. You can do anything once you stop trying to do everything. Eric Barker. We live in an era where everyone wants to become the omnipotent version of themselves, better, faster, more. People try to learn too many skills, pursue too many goals, wanting to be successful, perfect, and recognized everywhere all at once. But ironically, the more we take on, the more exhausted and mediocre we become in the very things we do. When light is scattered everywhere, it only provides warmth. But when focused into a single point, it can create fire. True power does not come from doing many things at once, but from the ability to focus all energy on what truly matters. An arrow can only fly far when pulled in one direction. A person can only reach depth when they stop tearing themselves into 100 pieces to chase everything around them. Many people live with a sense of failure not because they lack talent, but because they lack the power of choice. They fear missing out, so they try to grasp everything, but in the end, they lose themselves. The more you want to have everything, the less you can hold on to anything long enough for it to bloom. A tree cannot grow if it is uprooted every week to be planted elsewhere. Humans are the same. Great achievements always require persistence in one direction, long enough for roots to strike deep into the earth. What a person needs to learn is not how to say yes to every opportunity, but the ability to calmly say no to things that do not belong on their path. Because each time we refuse something unnecessary, we return energy to what is truly meaningful. Focus does not make life smaller, it makes life sharper. And sometimes, the moment a person stops trying to be everything is exactly when they begin to become their greatest self. Every person on this earth has potential for magnificent possibilities that can be realized through imagination, effort, and persistence. Barry Kaufmann. Beneath the ordinary exterior, beneath the repetitive days that seem meaningless, there always exists an undiscovered land, a place containing strength, talent, and possibilities that we sometimes didn't even know we possessed. We often define ourselves by what we have, what we can do, or the failures we've experienced. But potential is not something that can be seen immediately. It is like a seed lying deep underground in winter, silent, tiny, seemingly useless, but inside, it secretly holds an entire forest. The tragedy is that so many people give up before they have a chance to bloom. They let fear, self-doubt, and the world's judgments define the limits of their lives. Imagination is the first door that opens up those possibilities. Every great thing that ever appeared in history began with someone daring to envision a reality different from the present. A bridge exists because someone first believed that two shores could be connected. A person changes their life because they once imagined a better version of themselves. Imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the ability to see the future while the present is still dark. But imagination alone is not enough. Dreams do not turn into reality just because we crave them. Effort is the hammer that strikes the hard rock of limitations. And persistence is the strength that makes a person knock one more time, even when hope seems gone. The strange thing about life is that success rarely belongs to the most talented. It usually belongs to the one who refuses to give up the longest. There are winners who win not because they are superior to everyone else, but because they are persistent enough to keep going when others stop. This world is full of people living smaller than their true potential, not because they are weak, but because they never truly believed that something great was waiting to be awakened inside them. But when a person combines imagination to see beyond circumstances, effort to act every day, and persistence to overcome the darkest periods, they realize the greatest limit of life usually lies not in ability, but in giving up on oneself too early. Happiness is not something we need to seek outside. Rather, it lies within each of us. Sonja Lyubomirsky. Humans spend their whole lives chasing things they believe will bring peace, money, fame, recognition, perfect relationships, or a future free from suffering. But the more they run, the emptier they feel. Like a thirsty person standing in the middle of a vast ocean but unable to drink a single drop, people sometimes possess many things on the outside, but are depleted on the inside. Our biggest mistake is thinking that happiness is an object located somewhere out there, a reward to be earned, a destination to be reached. We always live in a state of feeling less successful than others, not loved enough, or lacking a sense of worth. The mind constantly compares, demands, and pursues, like a bottomless pit that can never be filled. But the truth is, if there is chaos inside a person, they will feel insecure even standing in paradise. Conversely, a peaceful soul can find light even on the darkest days. Inner happiness is not when life is perfect. It is the ability to maintain balance amidst countless fluctuations. Like the roots of a tree, it doesn't need anyone to see it, but it is what keeps the tree standing firm against the storm. Those with internal happiness do not live completely dependent on circumstances. They know how to enjoy small things, how to be grateful for what they have, and they do not let their self-worth be decided by the eyes of others. That is a very profound form of freedom. Freedom from the dependency on the world always treating us as we wish. The more one tries to grasp happiness from the outside, the easier it is to lose it. For everything external changes, money can be lost, people can leave us, and youth eventually fades. If happiness is built entirely on such temporary things, the soul will always live in fear. But when a person turns inward, learns to understand themselves, heals their mental wounds, and creates peace from their own thoughts, they will realize that happiness was never too far away. It is always there, silent, as a small flame in the heart, just waiting for them to stop running from themselves to see it. Allow yourself to change your mind when something no longer fits you. Nedra Glover Tawwab. So many people live in misery simply because they try to force themselves to stay with old choices. A job that exhausts the soul. A relationship that is only endurance. A version of themselves that no longer belongs to the present. They continue to walk not for happiness, but for fear of being judged as inconsistent, fickle, or a failure. But sometimes, what hurts a person most is not changing their mind, but trying to live faithfully to something that has been silently breaking them for a long time. Humans are often obsessed with being consistent. We think that if we chose a path yesterday, we must follow it to the end today, even if the heart has run out of energy. But life is not a stone statue. It is like a river, always in motion. A tree does not betray itself when it sheds leaves in autumn. It changes to survive. Humans are the same. True maturity lies not in keeping every thought forever, but in the ability to recognize when one needs to step into a new version of themselves. There are decisions that were right at one stage but are no longer suitable for the person we have become today. That doesn't mean the past was wrong. It just means we have grown. Just as a pair of shoes that fit perfectly in childhood will become painful if worn into adulthood, many old beliefs and choices are the same. But for fear of starting over, people often stay in places that suffocate them, just to protect an image of stability in front of others. Allowing yourself to change is an act of immense liberation. It requires honesty with your own feelings and the courage to accept that you are no longer the person you were yesterday. The weak often cling to familiarity, even if it causes them pain. The mature dare to leave what is no longer suitable to protect the life within their soul. Life does not reward those who endure everything until they are depleted. It often opens up for those who know how to listen to themselves deeply enough to know when to continue and when to change direction. Because sometimes, changing your mind is not a sign of being lost. It is proof that you have finally begun to understand yourself clearly. When we face unexpected challenges or threats, the only way to save ourselves is to hold tight to those around us and don't let go. We are stronger when we don't have to fight alone. In times of peace, humans often believe they can solve everything through individual will. We build an image of independence and strength, needing no one to lean on. But when a true crisis hits a major loss, a mental breakdown, a fear beyond our capacity, we realize that what keeps us from falling has never been just individual strength, but the hands of those still by our side. Humans are creatures of deep connection. From the moment we are born, we exist by being held, protected, and responded to with love. But as we grow older, many learn to hide their weakness as if needing help were a shameful thing. They remain silent in pain, locking themselves in inner darkness, trying to appear fine while slowly sinking. The most dangerous thing about despair is not the pain, but the feeling that you must endure it all alone. In the harshest moments of life, people are like those trying to cross a great storm in the middle of a dark sea. A person alone is easily swallowed by the waves. But when many people hold on to each other, they create a foundation stronger than fear. Sometimes, just a word of encouragement, a hug, or the silent presence of someone is enough to keep a soul from shattering. For what heals a person most is not always the solution to the problem, but the feeling, I am not alone. Connection is a form of survival strength. When around those we trust and love, the human brain reduces its state of alarm. Fear becomes more bearable, and hope begins to return. That is why those who overcome great adversity often do so not just through personal grit, but because someone helped them keep faith in themselves when they had almost lost it. Life sometimes makes us think that being strong means needing no one, but the truth is exactly the opposite. Strength is not trying to brace yourself against everything in solitude. Strength is having enough courage to take someone's hand when you are about to fall. For in an uncertain world, what saves us is often not the ability to withstand everything perfectly, but the fact that there is still someone to walk through the darkness with, without letting go. The truth is, bad things don't affect us as deeply as we expect. The same is true for good things. We adapt very quickly to both. Daniel Gilbert. Our minds are like the surface of water. No matter how violently disturbed, they eventually seek to return to a state of balance. This is both a gift and a paradox of life. When facing suffering, we imagine we will never get over it. A breakup makes us think our hearts will stay broken forever. A failure makes us believe life is over. But then time quietly passes, and what once felt like the end of the world gradually becomes a memory that can be told with composure. It's not because the pain was never real, but because the human soul has an incredible capacity for recovery. We are softer than we think in the moment of crisis, but we are also stronger than we imagine in the journey forward. People often believe that if they achieve what they desire, more money, more success, being loved more, then joy will last forever. But positive emotions also gradually become normal. A new car will eventually become just a means of transport. A great success eventually becomes a new pressure. Even the happiest moments are ultimately absorbed by the mind into the rhythm of familiar life. Just as the eyes adapt to light after stepping out of the shadows, humans quickly adapt to both the miraculous and the tragic. This is why many keep chasing new experiences but still feel empty. They think the problem is not having enough, but it's actually the mind's ability to adapt too quickly. Without understanding this, we achieve and get bored, lose and fall into despair, then continue searching for something else to fill the void within. Evidence shows humans were created to survive. If pain lasted forever at its initial intensity, no one could go on. If joy were always at its peak, we would lose the ability to feel it. It is adaptation that keeps life moving. And perhaps true maturity lies in understanding that no emotion is permanent. So do not despair too much when suffering appears, nor depend too much on external good things to define your happiness. Peace comes not from keeping emotions in a single state, but from the ability to pass through all changes without losing yourself. When we are open to new possibilities, we find them. Be open and skeptical of everything. Todd Kashdan. There is a thin line between wisdom and innocence, between growth and getting lost. Many people spend their whole lives in an invisible prison built by things they believe are certain. They look at the world through old conclusions, familiar prejudices, and unconsciously reject anything outside that mold. A closed mind is like a windowless room, safe but suffocating. When a person believes they know it all, they stop learning. And the moment they stop learning is when internal growth begins to die a silent death. Being open to new possibilities is not just about receiving new ideas. It is the ability to accept that you might be wrong. This is extremely difficult for the human ego. We like the feeling of being right because it creates psychological safety. But history shows that almost every major step forward for humanity began with someone daring to doubt what was considered obvious. If people didn't ask questions, the world would still believe the sun revolves around the earth, thinking the limits of life lie only in what the eyes can see. However, openness without skepticism is equally dangerous. A wide open mind without the ability to filter becomes fertile ground for manipulation, superstition, and delusion. Therefore, true wisdom lies not in believing every new thing, but in the ability to both accept and verify. Skepticism is not a negative attitude. It is the self-defense mechanism of a mature mind. It makes us stop and ask, is this true? Is it logical? Am I seeing the truth or just what I want to believe? People often only see what fits their existing beliefs. If a person believes life is all dead ends, they will miss every door opening before their eyes. But when the mind begins to open, the world seems to change too. Not because reality has completely altered, but because their perception has expanded. Opportunities, ideas, people, and new directions were always there, they just weren't flexible enough to see them before. Perhaps the wisest way to live is not to cling to any absolute belief, but to keep the mind like the sky, wide enough for new ideas to fly through, but clear enough to distinguish between a real star and a mere mirage. For ultimately, human growth doesn't begin when we find all the answers, but from the moment we are brave enough to keep asking questions. True feelings cannot be created, nor can they be destroyed. The body clings to the truth. Alice Miller. We can deceive our reason, but it is very difficult to deceive our body and internal emotions. We often think we control life with thoughts, words, or the image we present. But deep beneath all those masks, the body always stores the truest things, unnamed pains, unhealed traumas, suppressed emotions that the mind tries to forget. A person can smile and say they are fine, but tired eyes, an uneasy heartbeat, and the silent exhaustion of the soul tell a different story. The body is like an honest diary that no one can fully edit. Prolonged pressure turns into insomnia. Buried traumas turn into anxiety. Unreleased emotions gradually accumulate into an invisible heaviness within us. That is why many think they have forgotten a certain pain, but with just a sound, a scent, or a passing memory, the old emotion immediately comes alive as if it never left. Humans are very good at suppressing emotions, but suppression is not healing. A covered fire still smolders beneath the ashes. The mind can use busyness, logic, or denial to hide true feelings, but the body always remembers. It reacts with tension, with prolonged fatigue, with an unexplained sense of emptiness. Because true emotions are not something that can be deleted by will alone. They need to be acknowledged, understood, and released. The body is not fighting us, it is trying to protect us. Intense emotional reactions are sometimes not a sign of weakness, but the voice of a soul calling for help. The more a person tries to detach from their true feelings, the more they lose connection with themselves. And when a person no longer understands what they are truly feeling, they begin to live like an empty shell, active, existing, but not truly living. Healing does not begin by forcing yourself not to be sad anymore or to be stronger. Healing begins with honesty. Honesty that you are hurting. Honesty that there are wounds still there. Honesty that there are emotions that need to be heard instead of being pushed to the depths of the mind. For ultimately, true feelings are like water. They can be blocked for a while, but they always find a way to overflow. And only when a person dares to face the truth within will the body stop having to brace itself to carry the pains that the heart has yet to admit. A wonderful fact to reflect upon, that every human creature is constituted to be that profound secret and mystery to every other. Charles Dickens. No matter how close we are or how much we understand each other, there always exists a part of the inner self that no one can fully touch. Every human is like an ocean. The surface can be seen, but the true depth belongs only to them. We often assume we understand others just because we've heard them speak, stayed by them long enough, or witnessed what they show on the outside. But the truth is, most of human inner life happens in silence. There are fears never told. There are memories silently shaping a personality that no one knows. There are mental battles taking place behind a calm smile. People can sit next to each other for years, but still not truly know all that exists in the other's heart. This is both beautiful and sad. Beautiful because it makes each person a unique world, impossible to fully replicate. But also sad because sometimes we are lonely even among those who love us most. No one can step entirely into another's mind to feel everything they've experienced. Language is but a fragile bridge trying to connect two souls, but there are always emotions that exceed the power of expression. There are pains that cannot be put into words, vibrations too delicate to explain, and parts so deep that even we ourselves sometimes do not fully understand. Humans always exist in two versions. The version they show the world and the version they truly live with every night in silence. We learn to hide, adapt, and build images to be accepted. But as we grow, we realize that everyone is much more complex than they appear. A cold person might carry a deeply wounded heart. The one who always makes others laugh might be the loneliest. And those who look strongest might be silently struggling with cracks that no one sees. Perhaps that is why compassion becomes so important. When we understand that every person carries a secret universe we cannot see, we become less judgmental and more gentle with one another. We realize a person's behavior is often just the surface of deeper things happening within. And perhaps it is that very mystery that makes human beauty. If everything could be fully understood, explained, and seen through, the soul would lose its wondrous depth. We were not born to be simple math problems to be solved, but to be worlds constantly expanding where even we ourselves are still a mystery waiting to be fully explored.